Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be talking about, what else? Agatha All Along and the Penguin. What we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks is what we're going to be talking about for the next couple of weeks. Besides that, we've got some stuff coming up on the horizon. We've got some news stories and trailers in our On Beat section. Let's get started with On the Horizon.
On the horizon. On the horizon.
On the Horizon is, of course, where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. And we're going to start things off with the Family Guy Halloween special, which is coming on Monday, October 14th on Hulu. Then American Horror Stories is returning on Tuesday, October 15th to Hulu. This is not to be confused with American Horror Story. This is stories. Each episode is a separate, ghost story kind of thing, instead of a seasonal anthology. Shrinking, Season 2, starring Han Solo himself, is coming on Wednesday, October 16th to Apple TV+. Brothers, this is a movie we talked about the trailer for. It's the one with Peter Dinklage and Josh Brolin. Is coming to Amazon Prime on Thursday, October 17th. Super Mario Party Jamboree is coming on Thursday, October 17th to the Nintendo Switch. Retro Realms. Have you heard of these games? There's two. There's Retro Realms Ash vs. Evil Dead and Retro Realms Halloween.
Oh, yeah, I remember those games getting announced. Yeah, they're 2D beat 'em up. Side-scroller games, yeah, very interesting. They're developed by WayForward, both of them.
And there's a crossover where you can you can use Jason in the Ash vs. Evil Dead game, or use Ash in the, or not Jason, not Jason.
Michael Myers,
Michael Myers, yeah. In the Ash vs. Evil Dead game, or use Ash in the Halloween game.
Which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, those are coming on Thursday, October 17th to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox X, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. So pretty much everything, your toaster included,
yes,
is going to be getting those games, but they're separate games. They're not they're not one game. They're two separate games. Hysteria is coming on Friday, October 18th on Peacock. We talked about this. This is that Satanic Panic one with Bruce Campbell and the mom from Modern Family.
Yep, we talked about this just last week in last week's podcast. You can go and listen to that.
But that is coming on Friday, October 18th, just in time for spooky season. Woman of the Hour, which is, I think we didn't talk about it. I think the two of us talked about it, but not on the show.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I have bad memory for that stuff, so.
This is we watched the trailer. It's the directorial debut of Anna Kendrick, where it's about a game show, where it's a real game. This really happened, where this serial killer was on this dating game show or something.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah. We were talking about that.
That is coming on Friday, October 18th to Netflix. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants Unleashed is coming on Friday, October 18th to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Switch. I have no idea which one that is. I think they've made 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games in the last couple years.
Yeah, this one's a new one. This isn't the 2D side-scroller beat 'em up.
Yeah.
I think this is the one based on the new Nickelodeon cartoon and the recent movie that came out. It's based off of that. Instead of the 2D side-scroller, which is based off the classic series.
There's another one too, besides that. There's another 2D one that's based on an older style animation one, whereas this one I think is based more on the recent movie and the new cartoon that's a spin-off of that movie.
Yeah, Shredder's Revenge is the 2D beat 'em up that's based off the classic.
Yeah. But there's another one besides that as well, I think.
I'm looking it up because I can't think of a third one. Oh, I see something called Splintered Fate for Switch.
I think that's might be it, yeah.
Yep, that's it. Okay. That's based off of, it looks based off the previous Nickelodeon incarnation.
Yeah, before the movie.
Yep, and that is not a 2D side-scroller or beat 'em up. It kind of looks like Marvel Ultimate Alliance in setup.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay, huh.
Yeah, there's been 3 TV Neutral games in the last 2 years.
And then there was the Cowabunga collection from Konami, which was a collection of all the classic Konami Ninja Turtle Turtles games in one.
Yeah, and yet another one, but yeah, there are 3 new ones, so.
Yeah. A lot of Ninja Turtles love this generation.
Then, Rumors is coming out on Friday, October 18th at theaters. I'm not sure if we talked about this on the show or not. We definitely watched the trailer. That's that really weird one where it's like the UN gathering or something and something's happening.
G8.
Yeah, the G8.
That's G8's gathering for their annual summit. So it's the 8 leaders of the world's 8 most, powerful countries. And then there's something weird where like this alien brain ends up on Earth where they're at, and it's like turning people into zombies or something. It's weird.
Yeah, it's like a weird horror satire kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And Smile 2 comes out on Friday, October 18th at theaters as well. So I did not see Smile.
I did not see Smile 1.
Terribly interested.
It's funny because like I saw like the poster for Smile 2, like they have like Jack Nicholson's son making that, and I'm like, they literally only cast him in this movie specifically so he can make that face.
Yeah,
that's literally it.
It's immediately recognizable. Like I even tested that on like several different people where I said, okay, the kid in this picture is the son of a very famous actor. Who is it? And everybody guessed Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah, it's obvious.
Just immediately, yeah. So yeah, that is it for our On the Horizon segment, and now we're moving on to On Beat.
On Beat.
On Beat is our news segment, and we're going to start things out with 2 Nintendo news stories. One of them just happened today. Well, both of them happened today, but one of them kind of came out of nowhere.
October surprise!
It is the hardware announcement we've been waiting for.
I told you October.
Welcome to our new podcast, On Clock.
I told you October hardware announcement. That's right. I called it.
This is the patent that we saw, basically.
Yeah. This is a patent that came up recently. It was reported by The Verge, which didn't really know what to make of the patent at the time.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be like a peripheral for the Switch 2.
Yeah.
There's talk about it, like there's one of the leakers for the Switch 2 was talking about like a camera that plugged into a USB port on the top of the system or something, and they thought that might be connected to that, and that would make sense to me only because the comparison to like the wireless tech that's in this, like the motion detecting wireless tech that's in this, the same tech was in the Google Pixel 4, which I had. That's like a phone, and it's basically radar. It's like a smaller scope radar chip is what it is. And so that's how it functions.
It's hilarious, the speculation that this was a camera. When you read the Ask the Developers Nintendo published today, they very specifically state that they did not want to use this technology with the camera because cameras introduce privacy concerns.
Yeah, well, specifically with the alarm clock thing. But this is, people thought with a camera,
they said that this came about because they were researching motion sensing technology. They said, one of the ideas with that is a camera, but they said a camera doesn't make sense because the camera introduces privacy concerns. And they felt like if they could create a device that didn't use a camera, that would eliminate those concerns. And so they rolled out a camera like almost immediately.
Yeah, but the reason I was bringing up the thing with why it makes sense with the camera as like a peripheral that has that and a camera is that's how the Google Pixel 4 used it.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It used them in conjunction.
I just think like it was interesting reading the thought process. Like before they even knew they were going to make an alarm clock, they already knew cameras can't be involved.
Yeah. The main thing that the Google Pixel 4 used it for some other things too, but they were just kind of like gimmicks that didn't really go anywhere. But the main purpose of it was using the motion tech in conjunction with the camera for like really, really fast Face ID. So it's like much faster than what iPhone did with Face ID and much faster than what Google's done before with other ones because it used that radar chip in conjunction with it. So like it could tell that you were moving the camera to your face. So it was like launching up the camera and stuff, but you wouldn't even have to like turn on the phone or tap it or anything. It could tell based on the motion of you picking it up that like, oh, it wants to wake me up. And then it would turn on the camera, sense your face and turn on before you'd even have it in position to be using it.
Right.
So it was like a really, really fast Face ID. that's like how Google used it for the Pixel 4. So like I thought that might make sense that they might pair it with a camera for something, you know, but I still don't know if I like the idea of, you know, a camera peripheral like sold separately for the Switch. That just the fact that it would be sold separately and it would be clunky and something that, I don't know, like it just seems like something that wouldn't be used well, you know?
Right. No, yeah. No, I agree. I don't think they're doing that.
Yeah, I think if they did, if they were going to rely on a camera and they were like talking about it this early on, like before the system's even out, the system would just have a camera built in.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't make sense to have a peripheral.
I mean, like, yeah,
you know?
like the 3DS.
Yeah.
Like the DSi and the 3DS have built-in cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so I don't see why, if a camera was important, they couldn't build it into the Switch successor like they did with the 3DS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like that was kind of always the thing that I didn't believe in that, you know, thing, but they did have the patent, but patents don't necessarily mean anything with Nintendo because they patent so much shit.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. They patent so many ideas. Like remember the patent they had for that, like, oval-shaped console where, like, the controls were on the touch
somebody
screen.
made a mock-up of it.
Somebody made, like,
a bunch
a 3D...
of people into thinking that was the Switch.
Yeah.
Before it was called the Switch.
That was like that was a concept for an early Switch type device. It didn't go anywhere because the ideas evolved and, you know, they came up with new things and they went in another direction, but, you know, they still filed the patent because you gotta patent these ideas as you get them so that, you know, they don't get taken from you. That's the way business works. So that's why you can't, like, 100% rely on patents because Nintendo is going to patent every idea they get. But
they're a company based on innovation, too.
But every idea is not going to come to market.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I mean. Like, Nintendo's a company based on innovation. They're always trying to do something new and novel and innovative.
Yeah.
And so every company does this. Like, they come up with an idea, they patent it. The thing is that most companies, Microsoft and Sony's console divisions, aren't usually thinking of new ideas.
Right. They're pretty predictable. They're pretty much thinking, okay, how we do this one with better graphics, more horsepower.
Exactly. You know, like they don't usually think of things in like a way that's kind of outside of the box like that. Whereas Nintendo's always like, what's our new gimmick? You know? So they're always like experimenting with things, trying things, and that's why they have so many patents coming out, because that's just the way Nintendo operates as a company. And so they have to do that in order to protect their IP if they ever are going to use any of these ideas. And some of those ideas, like, they might patent it, pass on it, and then like 20 years from now might like come back to it or something.
Oh yeah. Like I said, Nintendo is the king of reusing old ideas. Mm-hmm. When you think about it, like...
Wasn't it like Gunpei Yokoi who was quoted for saying something about like withered technology or... Yeah, withered technology. But like, not even just like technology, like old ideas. Like, when you think about it, the Wii U is just a standardized version of what Nintendo was doing with the GameCube and Game Boy Advance connectivity, right? Where they had you connect the Game Boy Advance to your GameCube to be a screen that you the DS, the whole dual screen part of the DS is based on Game & Watch.
Yeah. and the Wii U is just GameCube and Game Boy Advance connectivity as a console. You know, like, so they're constantly going back to like old ideas, you know, like when it suits them. Mm-hmm. That's very Nintendo. What I love about Alarma and what I loved about this announcement was this is very, very Nintendo. And this actually, like, this harkens back to an era of Nintendo, a version of Nintendo that has not existed in decades, and that was Nintendo as a toy maker, you know, because this is fundamentally...
We've had hints of that, though, like Labo.
No, we've had hints of that, but, like, it's always, like, everything, like, they came out with has always been connected to their gaming business. It's always been like, this is a video game, this works with our gaming system, or this plays a video game in some way. This isn't it. This doesn't connect to Switch. This is not going to connect to the Switch successor. It's its own thing. There's no games on it. You can't play a version of Super Mario Brothers on it. You know, it's not its own game system. There's no game element to this. It's just a fun alarm clock, and in that sense, it's just a pure toy. It's like the most pure toy they've released. You know, like, since I have no clue what the last one was, Ultra Hand. I have no idea. It goes back, like, and it's crazy to me for me to see that. I'm kind of like, oh wow, yeah.
There's a few also Nintendo, but like in a negative way, kind of choices that are made that kind of are a little disappointing. Like, to go off the whole clock idea, the device is like round, you know?
Yes.
But the screen is square inside the round hole.
Oh yeah.
And that's just like, it's like, why didn't you just go for? I mean, they make round
screens. Oh.
you know, like the
Probably because it was cheaper to get a
yeah.
Square
Oh,
LCD.
that's exactly why.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's very Nintendo. The device itself, like when you see it out of the box, it's a lot bigger than you'd think it would be. It kind of looks very Fisher Pricey, you know.
It does. Like, again, like it's got that. It's a very Nintendo design aesthetic, but like it's designed to look like a toy because it is.
Yeah,
Like it's like
I wish it was
don't-
like a cooler looking toy.
right. Yeah.
I mean, Nintendo systems look like toys too, but like they're cooler looking toys, you know? It's just kind of like very Fisher Price, the design aesthetic of that system, that clock. And like I said, the cheaping out, like the fact that they're using like a round thing, but then a square screen inside it. It's like, just make it a square design then, you know? Why did you go with the round design? Just makes it stand out that you cheaped out, you know?
Right. No, I get that completely. I totally get it.
It's like, it's just, there's design aesthetic aspects that I'm just like not too keen on. But yeah, I mean, this is not for me. It's $100. It's a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sticking point for me is like, it's $100 puts it out of impulse buy territory and into like, you know, like, it's a bit more pricey. I thought when I first saw it, I thought like this was a $50 or $60 item. I thought that's easy money.
I was saying at like $30, this would be like an impulse buy. Like, even though even though it's not for me, I would have bought it for $30.
$30 is like, I don't think that's feasible.
Just
like
as
that.
a Nintendo fan, I would have bought it for $30. You know, like even though I don't even want it, I would have still bought it as a Nintendo fan just because it's $30. But like you said, 50 to 60 sounds like where it probably should be priced at. 100 is just way too much.
100 is, I was kind of taken aback by that pricing because I was like, oh, okay. I was like, but that's fine. Like, I'm kind of into it. It's not something like I would use as my alarm clock or anything, like officially. I just think it's a neat little toy that would be fun to have as like a little, little Nintendo tchotchke. Yeah. You know, like a fun thing. I mean, I do like it. I do like the idea of like,
leave it in a box and put it on your shelf.
I do like the idea it has these Nintendo themed alarms and they're like 100% like fully themed to the game.
It is kind of weird that they're specific
have, like,
to the game and not just to the franchise. Like that they have like a Mario Odyssey theme rather than just a Mario theme, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, that's so they could sell you new themes based on like every other Mario
But they
game.
said that the new ones would be coming as free.
Yeah, free with a Nintendo Switch Online subscription. You have to have that subscription
To buy it.
to download the new themes.
You needed to download the new themes? Did they confirm that? Because I know you need a subscription to buy it online, but you can, without a subscription, you can go to a Nintendo store and buy it, like the Nintendo World Store in New York. And they said in 2025, they're going to be selling it at regular retailers to buy, where you don't need a subscription to buy it anymore. So is the new themes thing requiring it, or is it just that in order to order the thing online, you have to?
Oh, I see. Okay.
I mean, at $100, I think the theme should be free.
You know what? Actually, yeah, I think I misinterpreted that. Because on the website, it does say, like, by linking your Nintendo account, you can download additional alarm themes such as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Animal Crossing, New Horizons via free updates as they become available. And it says a Nintendo account and internet connection required to access online features. So I think, like, confused Nintendo account for Nintendo Online account.
Well, and that's because they said you need a Nintendo Switch Online account in order to buy it.
Right, yeah.
So, like, those two things got mixed up, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Which is also a very Nintendo thing to do, to confuse people.
To confuse people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
yeah,
this is, like, not in a good way. This is, like, in a Wii U kind of way, you know?
You know, like, I saw people, like mad that, like, you need to Switch Online to buy it. Well, like, initially, yes, but, like, it's going to be in retail stores.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, that whole thing, this is just, like...
I mean, and you don't need it to buy it. You can also just get a plane ticket to New York City.
I mean, this is just, like, Nintendo is trying to add more value to Nintendo Switch Online to Nintendo Switch Online subscribers, and part of that is, like, oh, hey, we're going to release these doodads, and if you have
I think
a
it's
Switch
more
Online...
just that they have limited supply, and this is, like, how they're handling it.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
You know? And they figure
we're gonna release these doodads, and if you...
Nintendo Switch Online subscribers are, like, their most loyal fans, of people that are more likely to want this.
Right.
And so they're kind of, like, giving them an opportunity that won't be scalped to all shit.
Right.
I mean,
it
didn't
can still be
PlayStation
scalped
do something
also.
recently with that? With, like, I think it was with the limited edition of the new PlayStation 5 Pro. Like, you need a PlayStation Plus account or something that's been active for like several months before they announced it or something. This isn't for just the PlayStation 5 Pro. This is for like the PlayStation 5 Pro.
The 25th anniversary.
Yeah, the 25th anniversary edition.
Which still sold out in like minutes, which was insane.
Yeah, but like they did all that stuff to curb scalping.
Yeah.
Because basically it's not like you need an account and you can sign up for one now and then get it. It was like you needed the account in advance of this happening in order to get it.
Valve also did that with the initial orders for the Steam Deck. Like,
yeah.
With the Steam Deck, they said you need to have a Steam account for like 5 months prior to the Steam Deck going on pre-order.
That's what I think this is. More than giving value to Nintendo Switch Online, like as a service, I think that's why they did this. Is that they have limited supply and they're trying to curb scalping.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they're trying to get them out, and then it's gonna hit retail in full swing
when they have 2025,
unless it just fails and they decide.
Imagine if they did the same thing with like the Switch 2. They said, "Oh, people with Nintendo Online subscriptions can pre-order the Switch 2 now," and then like everybody else has to wait.
Yeah, like 4 months or something.
Yeah, 4 months. If people will riot.
Yeah, no, I don't think they would do that. Maybe for a special limited edition version.
Yeah,
like I said, like Sony did with the 25th anniversary edition. You know, I could see them doing that. But
this is an interesting project. This reminds me a lot of the Quality of Life initiative.
The Vitality Sensor.
The Vitality Sensor. More specifically, the Quality of Life initiative products Iwata was talking about back in like 2014. That eventually ended up getting canceled after Iwata's unfortunate passing.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, we did get something similar to this already, which was it Pokemon Sleep?
Yeah, Pokemon Sleep. Oh, that's not really similar.
It's similar in the sense that
that's like a game on your phone.
Yeah, but it's about your sleep habits and stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
It's about your sleep habits. Like
it's that same kind of like
real good, you'll get like a shiny Pikachu show up in your game.
It's like a passive Nintendo experience in the same way.
Right?
Know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's weird.
It's weird.
It's not for me, but I like when Nintendo just does weird stuff.
I like when Nintendo like just surprises everybody like this.
Yeah,
they have
the longest they don't rely on it as their main thing. You know, I'm happy when they do these little like things out of nowhere. You know, when they do like an NES Classic or they do
Oh yeah, like the NES Classic again. That's surprised. Nobody saw that coming. They like to do these things like out of the blue. You don't expect it. There's no forewarning. There was no like we're going to make an announcement next week. There was like they just did it.
Yeah,
and I love that. This is the kind of thing I live for.
They made those the designer shirts, the button-up designer dress shirts for Pokemon.
Yes,
that had like little tiny like Pokemon details that where like you look at the shirt just head on, it just looks like a nice designer shirt, but you look like really close and you're like, oh, there's like little Pikachus on it.
Oh yeah. You know what's funny about this? Like they announced it today on October 9th. There's like leakers last week going around saying, oh, Nintendo's going to announce the Switch 2 on October 10th. And it's like, oh yeah, well the day before October 10th they announced the alarm clock, so.
Yeah. It makes it feel less likely, but it's Nintendo, so who the fuck knows?
Yeah, we can wake up tomorrow.
I remember one week they announced like a mini direct, and then like the same week they later on announced like a full direct.
Yeah.
Like, so they have done this kind of thing before. It's unlikely, but they've done it.
But the Switch 1 announcement did have forewarning, because they made that tweet where they were like, oh, join us next... Mario with the curtain, join us next week for a sneak peek at NX. Mm-hmm. They did that, so I don't think we're going to see,
get anything on the 10th, but you never know.
Yeah, we're not getting anything tomorrow. If anything, we're going to get like a tweet like that.
Actually, you saying that we're for sure not getting it has just convinced me that we're getting it.
Like if anything happens tomorrow, it's gonna be a tweet that says like, "Oh, join us on the 16th for a sneak peek at the next generation of Switch."
Yeah,
it'll be that. You'll get a tweet announcing it, and then
it'll say, "Join us at the Game Awards when we reveal the Switch."
Yeah, it's fine. The only thing like I find hilarious is like people are like legit mad at this, as if like this canceled the Switch 2 or something.
It did completely.
Yeah.
When people get pissed off for stupid reasons, just go with it.
Just go with it.
did cancel
it. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
But that's good because, you know, we wanted something more innovative and we got something more innovative. So this is the Switch 2.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Our next Nintendo news story is that Nintendo released this tweet message on different social platforms and like a link to like a more full description, I guess, on their website for a Nintendo Switch Online playtest program related to a new feature. I think I've called what this is. And I mentioned it to you earlier. I think it's going to be something very unexciting. I think it's going to be something very, very basic that the Switch doesn't have. And my key thing I think it could likely be is on-system voice chat. And it's funny because there are games already on the system that have on-system voice chat, but it's not like a standard, it's not part of Nintendo Switch Online. You know, it's like the games.
Well, I mean, I remember like Nintendo initially saying it wasn't like a necessary thing or whatever, you know, like being very dismissive of the idea. I think people have gotten used to just using apps like Discord for their voice chat when they're playing Switch games, you know.
Yeah, because nobody uses the actual Nintendo app that they released for that.
Oh, yeah, they might, yeah, that's right. They might
Discord.
even use the dumb app.
Remember they made that big adapter for like Splatoon?
Yes.
Where you'd plug it into your Switch, into your phone.
100% like all my sessions in like Splatoon or Mario Kart 8 or Smash Brothers was Discord. Yeah, just Discord. They might as well just add Discord integration into the Switch at this point because that's what everybody's using.
But I think that it's going to be some kind of an on-system voice chat, and more specifically, because this is very, very late in the Switch's life to be doing that, I think this is a test of their back-end software for that feature for the Switch successor. Like, I think they're going to be testing it on the Switch, but I don't think it's going to feature launch on the Switch. I think it's going to feature launch with the launch of the Switch successor.
This is definitely preparation for the next generation. This is definitely going to be a feature more for the next generation of Switch than the current generation.
Yeah.
The way they're positioning this is like this is a big new feature getting added to the service. Your theory sounds valid. I don't know if that's what ended up. I don't know what to make of this. I'm excited to find out what it is. I'm going to try and get an application in as soon as they go live to see if I can get into the beta test.
I'm not going to bother. I'll just find out. Yeah. I don't want to feel responsible.
Oh yes, be 100% responsible for Nintendo's.
Yeah, I don't want to feel like I have some obligation to use it even if I don't like it just because I signed up for it and got it. Because I personally, I would feel like shit if I took somebody else's spot and then didn't use it. Didn't even take part in the test or something. So I'm like, I doubt it's going to be anything I'm going to care too terribly much about. Like maybe I'll care about it in actual use, but like I don't think I'm going to care that much about using it in a beta, you know? So I'm like, I'm not going to sign up. There are other ideas on things that it could be as well. Another idea I had, and I mentioned it to you as well, is like everybody wants them to do a GameCube online in the same way they have like, you know, an NES app and an SNES app and N64 app and stuff. The problem with that being that those apps contain the entirety of every game on them in a single app in one place.
Yeah.
So another
that's
solution
fine when you're talking about something like an NES game, which is
because
like
games are like less than a megabyte. Yeah. And even N64, like the biggest N64 game I think was 64 megabytes or something?
Yeah, I think that was like Resident Evil 2 was like the largest N64 game and
64 megs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of them, like you'd hear about 64 meg carts for N64 for other games, but they meant megabit. So you gotta divide that by 8. They're really 8 megabytes, you know? They weren't that big.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But when you get to GameCube, those discs were 1.5 gigabytes. So you put 1.5 gigabytes on there, you got 10 gigs already. And that might not seem that big when you have a lot of bigger games and stuff, but the system memory on the Switch, like the internal storage that comes on it when you don't count like an SD card or something, is 32 gigabytes. So you're talking like half of it for like 10 games. Some games were actually quite a few games on GameCube were like multi-disc games too. So you're talking like even bigger at that point. You also have the ROMs for the games on Nintendo Switch Online are larger than the actual ROMs were without because they have to kind of include their own like bespoke emulators kind of so that they work like perfect. So everything's like, it just gets heavy when you look at like those kind of file sizes. Like how are you going to do GameCube in the same way you can do it? And there's kind of two solutions to that like can really work. One is that the app itself is just an interface, and then you have to download the games inside the app before you can play them. And another solution that I thought of is that they could just use cloud gaming for those situations. Cloud gaming doesn't have to be like really powerful systems, like it doesn't have to be like, oh, so that you can play a game that can't possibly run on the Switch. Like you could use cloud gaming just to have this game stored server side, And so that's like another possibility. It could even like stream the game and like load assets in, but that would require reworking of the game itself, the game code itself. But that's like another kind of possibility that I thought of. Is like they could be doing it for some method of introducing GameCube app to the Nintendo Switch, but without making it excessive in size by doing some other kind of trick, like streaming or streaming of assets or something.
Right.
Have you had any other thoughts on what this could be?
Yeah. Another thought of it. This could use the camera peripheral that they're definitely making for Switch 2 to introduce like their own live streaming app. So you could live stream yourself on Nintendo Switch Online Live.
That would be interesting, mainly because Nintendo is like not going to do that in a normal way.
Right.
Because Nintendo is like so conscious of like, problems that could come from that with kids and stuff, that like if they did something like that, there would be some like really weird, workaround. I don't know about that, because if they're going to beta test, they're not going to send units to people, are they?
I was joking.
You can hook up any Logic Cam webcam to your Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. There's lots of things that it could be, but I have a feeling it's going to be something like on-system voice chat.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. I have no clue what we're just going to have to wait and see on this one. It's interesting because, like, Nintendo's never done this before. Nintendo's never said, oh, we got an idea for something we can't tell you about, but we need everybody to come and sign up for it. It's strange. I noted, like, this is odd, and it's odd, and yeah, so I'm interested. Two strange announcements from Nintendo in one day. Like, they're cooking.
They're getting their freak on.
Yeah, they're getting their freak on.
We got a few bad news stories to go on now. First up, we have Joker Leadu has flopped hard at the box office. It made $40 million in its debut weekend. That's on a budget of $200 million. It's expected to fall off very sharply because it's also getting very negative word of mouth reviews. Not just the critic reviews are pretty bad, but the reviews are pretty bad from fans that have seen it and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's expected to have a really, really sharp drop off. $200 million budget, as I said. The original movie made over $1 billion.
Yeah. The original movie was like a wild success.
Yeah. This is like a huge disaster. You said like, where's the bad news? Like, yeah, I get that perspective. I mean, like bad news as far as, the success of a franchise for the studio.
I mean, everybody involved is going to
From the studio's perspective, it's bad news.
Oh, yeah. But they're taking it pretty well.
Unnecessarily well, yeah.
Yeah.
They probably shouldn't be taking it as well. So.
To a point, like, everybody involved in this is going to walk away unscathed.
Yeah, I don't know. Joaquin Phoenix might be in a little bit of trouble. He's been having a few issues.
Yeah, he's been having a few issues, yeah.
Walking away from projects, like, late in the process. Like, some of that stuff's been coming out really publicly, too, so.
Oh, yeah. Like, well, he's gonna, like, have issues for those reasons, but it's nothing about Joker is gonna affect him.
It could compound those same issues, so.
From all accounts, the studio still likes him. Studio still likes, Todd Phillips. They're kind of viewing this as,
shucks.
Yeah, well, yeah, like, oh, well, you can't win them all. Like, the attitude is, like, Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix have delivered, like, so many hits for the studio in the past that, they're willing to forgive this.
I think Todd Phillips needs to just go back to comedy.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Joker was the anomaly, not the career switch. It was the anomaly. I mean, he should go back to comedy because he was really good at it. And Joker, I think, was good, but it was good mostly because it was essentially a remake of the King of Comedy,
Right, yeah, exactly.
It wasn't really striking new ground.
Todd Phillips trying to be Scorsese.
Yeah, and I don't think, I think what this proves, if anything, the flop of the sequel proves that this isn't just something he can just keep doing, that he can't just, like, expect that to continue on, that he kind of struck gold, he caught lightning in a bottle, and that's not, like, something that he's in for again, but I don't know. So, that's that news. Our next news story is a bunch of news stories in one. There have been quite a few cancellations this past week. Chaos got canceled on Netflix. That was the one about the
Chaos.
Greek gods with Jeff Goldblum. Canceled after one season.
I'm sad everybody already forgot about Stranger in Paradise Final Fantasy, so the Chaos meme is dead.
It's still, every time we do Advocates of Great Entertainment, there's a little joke about that in the...
Yeah.
And then Velma was canceled at Max. I know there's a certain contingent of people that are going to be like jumping on top of their cars.
Yeah, but we don't need to give those
cheering
people
and stuff.
We don't need to give those people oxygen.
I don't really care about Velma as a show. I never saw it.
It looked god awful. I didn't see one clip from that show that made me like reconsider, this might, actually be a decent show. Like everything I've seen from the show posted online just looked terrible. And I realized that there might be bias because it might have been just people cherry picking like the worst clips or worst examples. But man, like I didn't see anything that made that show look good.
Yeah, the thing with me
Not
is
even the show's own trailers.
The thing with me is like I haven't seen it, so I can't say anything. I have like no opinion on it, on the content of the show itself. There is like a certain level of toxicity and the negativity towards that show that's attributed towards other certain communities and stuff that I'm not too terribly fond of. But
this is happening with like everything now because you got these rage tourists like just going around like everything that comes out and trying to make some rage content about it, like, this is woke now because we found somebody who works on the show and they got like pronouns in their Twitter bio or some shit. And it's just like, and that's just what they do now to like everything.
Yeah. So if anything, the only thing I'm sad about with this show being canceled is just that anybody that would do that would have like cause for celebration. It's annoying to me, just because that whole community is annoying to me. But like, I haven't watched the show. I don't give a shit, as far as the show itself goes. So not really affected by that. The one show I have seen that was canceled this week is that 90s show, which is okay. I honestly, I don't mind that it's canceled. It's one of those things where like I watched it, I enjoyed it, but like I don't care that much about it. Like I don't mind that it's gone. I'm not heartbroken. I'm kind of like, okay, they had a good run or whatever. Cool.
Yeah, it very much felt like an unnecessary sequel. Like it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I think the biggest problem with that 90s show is that it didn't have enough of its own identity.
Yeah,
it was a That 70s Show sequel rather than a That 90s show,
Right.
A lot of it still feels like it's in the 70s,
Right, yeah. I think that there's a difficult line to tread there where you want it to be familiar enough so that, you can relate to it, as a sequel to the original show, but you also want it to have its own life, its own identity. Yeah, I don't think they were brave enough to go that far with it. I think they were really
There's two
defending.
types of nostalgia. There's nostalgia for the show, that 70s show, and there's nostalgia for the 90s. And I think nostalgia for that 70s show won out over nostalgia for the 90s.
Right.
And I think that is to its detriment as like an original show.
Yeah, because like that 70s show like was about the decade it was set in, and this was just about that 70s show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then the last one canceled was The Serpent Queen, which is on Starz, which is a little weird because The Serpent Queen is in a long line of queen and princess shows that are all kind of connected. And they already announced that they're going to be doing another one. So is it really even a cancellation? Or is it just the end of a chapter?
It's the end of one of these shows.
Yeah. I know it's the White Queen and the White Princess and the Spanish Princess and the Serpent Queen, and now there's going to be, I guess, the Serpent Princess or something else. They're all kind of about the War of the Roses, I guess. But yeah, I'm not too terribly concerned with that. It doesn't seem like a real cancellation. And I don't watch it anyway, so.
Right.
Our last news story before we get into trailers is that Lanterns has found its Jon Stewart in Rebel Ridge's Aaron Pierce. Or Aaron Pierre, I should say, not Pierce. Rebel Ridge is kind of like the most popular Netflix original movie. It kind of blew up just this year.
I love most popular Netflix original movie, and I haven't seen it, so that shows like how much I'm paying attention to Netflix these days.
Well, Netflix has a lot of original series and stuff that are more popular, but like their movies never really took off that much. Like they did that one Red with like Gal Gadot and The Rock and They did like ones like that were kind of high profile and expensive. They did some Oscar bait ones like Roma with Alfonso Cuarón.
I remember, when they wanted to like be like serious, like a serious film studio, and I think that bombed, and I think like their attitude now is they just want to do like sci-fi tier movie of the week style movies because it's cheaper, and
that's mostly what it's been.
Those
like
do
recently.
well on the platform anyway, so it's like,
yeah. They've done like a few of them, and this is the one that kind of like became more popular, not just as far as success, but like as far as like response. Like a lot of people seem to really like it. There are a lot of comparisons to like the original Rambo movie. God, I can't even think what's it called again?
First Blood.
Yeah, First Blood. So it's got a lot of comparisons to like First Blood. That's kind of what I've been hearing about it. So yeah, it's interesting. This actor kind of just blew up on everyone's radar because of that, and now he's going to be playing Jon Stewart in Lanterns, which is, again, for anybody who doesn't know, is like it's a TV series about Green Lantern, and it's modeled loosely after True Detective.
Yeah.
So we know it's not 100% confirmed, but it seems like Kyle Chandler is going to be playing Hal Jordan, and right here, Jon Stewart's going to be kind of the co-star in it, you know? Like,
oh yeah.
The co-lead character.
Did you see like they had Josh Brolin commenting on turning down Green Lantern?
What did he say?
He just said wasn't the right time for him, and like he's looking forward to seeing Kyle Chandler in the role.
Mm-hmm. I already played my dream DC role in the best DC movie ever made, Jonah Hex.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's our last regular news story, and now we're gonna move on to our trailers. We're gonna start things off with Time Cut. Now, you talked before about the trend of horror movies that are kind of based off of like very trope-defining movies, usually like movies from like the 80s and then, in the 90s.
Yeah, basically horror.
Groundhog's Day, but a horror movie,
Yeah, like
It's a Wonderful Life, but it's a horror movie, although that's not 80s or 90s,
Oh yeah, like Freaky Friday, but a horror movie. I mean, the movie was literally named Freaky. You can't get more of an obvious reference than that.
Yeah. And this one is kind of like, I guess, Back to the Future, but horror, in a way.
Yes, yeah, I guess it's similar. It's about somebody who goes back in time and has to change the future, right?
Yeah.
But horror, yeah. It's interesting to me because we saw that in like reverse recently with like Dream Scenario, where it was like it's a Nightmare on Elm Street, but a quirky indie drama.
Yeah, so you're getting kind of like the opposite side of that here, but this is it looks decent. All those movies kind of look fun, because they're playing on tropes that are beloved.
Yeah, exactly. They're playing on like well-worn tropes, so they look fun. I still have yet to see Freaky. I should check that out.
I want to see Freaky. I didn't get to see that. I kind of want to see It's a Wonderful Knife, which is the It's a Wonderful Life one with Justin Long, and there's a few of those that I want to see. The Groundhog's Day one I still haven't seen. That's Happy Death Day.
Oh,
and they did a sequel to that one too.
Yeah, Happy Death Day to You. Yeah. I should watch that one too. I should put that on my list because
I love whenever like a style of movie gets reinterpreted through the lens of like a bunch of genre tropes. I wanted to see. I never saw it, but they did that with like the like American Pie style movies, like the like kind of teen raunchy comedy kind of stuff thing, Porky's or American Pie, that kind of thing. They did that with that too, where they did a few different movies. They did one that was like a Groundhog's Day, but like a raunchy comedy, but as a Groundhog's Day. I never saw it. Like I completely forgot the title of it.
I never even heard of that.
I saw a trailer for it like 10 years ago, I think, and never ended up seeing the movie, and then completely forgot the name of the movie, so I couldn't even find it if I looked for it now. But like, it's I like it when stuff kind of does that. Like they reinterpret like a nice, well-worn trope and kind of take it in the context of a different genre. I think that's all kind of fun. So that's Time Cut. We had a trailer for that. Our next trailer was for the new season of What We Do in the Shadows, which is bringing back a bunch of little classic gags with our favorite vampires.
It looks amazing.
It looks like the big conceit of this season is that they had another roommate that they completely forgot about, who was in like a deep hibernation, and they forgot to wake him up. And he was supposed to wake up in the 90s, and now he's waking up and wondering like what everybody's been up to. And so they're all trying to kind of find their place. Like, it's kind of like the idea of, you re-encounter an old friend and you're like, oh, whatever happened to all those dreams I used to have, And that's kind of what they're pursuing, and it's for the final season of the show. So it kind of makes sense. It's like a fitting kind of concept for a final season.
Yeah, it's going to be so great.
Yeah. The next trailer we got was for Getting Lost. This is a documentary for the show Lost, and it's kind of addressing the cultural impact of the show. It features a bunch of people who are involved in the show, a bunch of fans and stuff. I think this was like some kind of a crowdsourced project, and they're doing a bunch of screenings for people that crowdfunded it, and then later it's going to be coming to wider distribution, I think like next year.
Which is really cool. I like that.
So they just kind of said like, oh, this is for the fans. And they had like a trailer for it, and you get to see a bunch of old figures you haven't seen in a while, you know, actors talking about those old roles, seeing Terry O'Quinn talking about Locke again, seeing the actress who played Juliet, can't remember her name, talking about her role and talking about the reactions to the finale and stuff. It just looks like it's going to be kind of a good time for people like us who are obsessed with Lost.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Can't wait.
And then the last trailer we got this week was for The Day of the Jackal, which is kind of a pretty tropey concept in itself. Like, we've seen this kind of thing before. Hitman he's got a secret life and someone's trying to hunt him down while he's trying to kind of keep his life secret as his life changes, and he's got new relationships and stuff.
It looks like it's well acted though, so.
Yeah, it's got a good cast.
It's got a good cast. Eddie Redmayne as the Jackal, and then the woman they have as the lead. I don't know her name offhand, but like she's fantastic in the trailer. So yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it's a fun kind of tropey thing, but I'm not negative on tropes. As you can probably tell.
No, I mean, tropes are fine. The thing that
when tropes become cliches.
No, when they're badly handled or badly written. It's the thing. Like, if you have solid writing and if you have solid acting, you can transcend the material. You can elevate the material, and I mean that's what looks like what's happening in this trailer. You'd have to see it, the actual show to make a real judgment on it, but the trailer looked good.
Mm-hmm, definitely. But that is it for our On-Beat section, and that leaves only full spoilers. This week on Full Spoilers, we're going to be talking about Agatha All Along, Episode 4, If I Can't Reach You, Let My Song Teach You, and The Penguin, Episode 3, Bliss. Let's start with Agatha All Along, as always, starting with Agatha. So what did you think of this episode? Broad terms. I asked that specifically with every Agatha All Along episode because each episode, like with WandaVision, kind of takes on a theme almost, like a visual style and stuff like that.
Well, this
and so
one
each one feels a little different.
That 70s show, right?
How'd this one work?
It's funny because this one was very 70s aesthetic, and then the one actress they had from that 70s show is dead before this episode comes on. That's a misfire, Disney and Marvel. How could you do that? You know?
They went full 70s Krog for
right?
Which I love. As a fan of Krog, it's fun to see that represented musically with the most popular interpretation of the Ballad of the Witch's Road, and that's kind of what they have to recreate.
How could you not get Deborah Jo Rupp in full 70s get-up? Come on.
The trade-off's worth it.
Yeah, the trade-off's worth it, yeah.
The trade-off brings us Aubrey Plaza into the main cast,
Yes. Which we knew was going to happen. The trailer made that obvious. We knew that was going to happen some way, somehow, eventually. It happens here, and surprise, surprise, she's fantastic.
Here's what's funny. I don't know if we talked about this on the show or if we talked about it after the podcast, but you and I were talking about theories about stuff and confirmations on who characters were based on leaks and stuff. And I was saying
I don't think we got any progress on that this week.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I was saying the leak says that Aubrey Plaza's character is dead.
Right.
And I was saying, I just don't see how that fits. How that works into the story. That's what I was saying to you last week on it. And then I watched the episode that same night and messaged you immediately and said, actually, I'm watching the next episode right now, and I take back everything I say. It could totally be death.
Yeah,
that's not to say that there's any confirmation that she's
there's no confirmation.
But there's a few things that okay, now it makes sense. If they pulled her being death, now it makes sense, whereas it didn't necessarily before. There's a few things. There's her commenting to Agatha about, you get the power at the end of the Witch's Road and I get the bodies. The fact that she came from the grave that they buried married Mrs. Hart or Sharon or Deborah Jo Rupp.
The fact that at the end when Tina's dying from a wound and Agatha instinctively turns to Aubrey Plaza and says, "Don't."
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's lots of implications of that. There's also the whole thing where she talks about the fact that she has a scar too. And she says her scar is a woman that she had feelings for, and she had to hurt that woman because she had to do her job.
Yes.
Which we know Agatha traded her son for, or her child.
Yeah.
I don't know if they specifically said it was a son. They implied it.
No, they said it was a son, or at least the one witch did. Yeah. Okay. She was talking to Teen. Yeah.
So yeah, like there's all these implications now where it's like, yeah, she could totally be dead. Like that. Whereas going by the last episode, I would have said like, oh, I would kind of feel weird if it was death. Like, it makes more sense that it would be Blackheart or anybody else, another magical character, Morgan, or I don't know. Another character like that would make far more sense. Whereas like death, it's just nothing that they've shown of her character so far, like screams that would be like, that would make sense in the story. And then this episode happened.
Right, yeah.
And it was like immediately like, oh no, yeah, she could totally be death. But yeah, that was kind of the big development from it. What did you think of the version of the Ballad of the Witch's Road in here, the frog version?
It was fine. It was catchy song. I
kind of like the original version better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, the rest of the episode is kind of whatever. It's just like this thing about the trial. It's specifically about, and I need to pull up the cast here. It's very much about Alice's character and her backstory. This trial is themed around her, where like the previous trial was very obviously themed around Miss Hart. Mm-hmm. With the whole like suburban setting. This is very much in like the 70s music studio. Alice's mother was a famous musician, Mm-hmm. So this is very much her trial and like dealing with like her curse. And I like the look of the monster that personified Alice's curse. I mean, it's pretty standard stuff. I mean,
there's a pretty clever switch in there because last week we said, oh, well, the one thing we know about Alice's mom is that she disappeared on the road.
That's what
and we were assuming on the Witch's Road. And then here that comes out like, no, she died on the road, but not on the Witch's Road.
Not on the Witch's Road, yeah.
Yeah. She died like on tour,
Right.
And I thought that was kind of an interesting twist because I just assumed the Witch's Road.
So at that point, like, the show, like, killed any possibility of her mother surprisingly showing up on the road. Or at least, like, the real version.
Yeah.
The road still throw
maybe
twists,
some metaphysical version, but not.
Yeah, but not, like, actually her.
Yeah. But I thought that was kind of an interesting twist because that caught me off guard because I just assumed, oh yeah, she's lost on the Witch's Road.
Oh, same. And I think they were counting on that.
But they never even said that. They just said the road.
They were counting on us just, like, making that connection.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty clever, the way they turned that on us. Yeah, I mean, it continues to be good. Probably my least favorite of the 4 episodes, so.
Yeah, same. I just kind of felt ambivalent after that, and I'm kind of feel like, okay, they need to, like, up the ante, or they need to rev up the drama, or drive towards something, because it kind of feels like we're just, like, getting into a routine, and we need to get out of it.
I didn't hate it. I
didn't hate it. I just kind of feel like, okay, where are we going, though?
Yeah. I want them to go into some more interesting places, and that's kind of a cool thing about the show is that each episode kind of feels like a different thing,
Yeah.
So next episode might be like just something completely amazing and different that we hadn't thought of that we really enjoy, or it could be worse, or it could be better. Like we just don't know, and that's kind of exciting.
It's clear they're probably just going to do like an episode, themed around each witch.
Yeah.
Their trial, like so we'll have to see what happens next week.
Yeah, definitely. But it's even in there, like the presentation, like the last episode was themed around the potions witch.
Yeah.
But
the trial was
the presentation wasn't at all like her,
No, yeah, because the trial wasn't like about her. It was Miss Hart's trial and she failed. And then this was Alice's trial. And so these are each like representations of like their worst fears.
Yeah, if they go by all the witches, then we have some interesting ones coming up because we have the character of Lilia, the one played by Patti LuPone.
Yes.
And she's an old witch. She's older than Agatha, apparently, I think. So if you go into anything with that, that's going to be kind of interesting. We already got some taste of that she had this kind of like puritanical life or something. And so that's kind of interesting. And then after her, who do you have? You have Teen.
you still have the Potions Witch
Yeah.
and her backstory.
Yeah, but more specifically, the three that I'm thinking of that have like really interesting stories to look forward to is you have Teen, Agatha herself, and Rio, Aubrey Plaza's character.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm kind of like, I'm looking forward to those episodes. And
obviously, when they get to like Agatha, that's when like all the secrets are going to come out about like what really happened with her son and stuff, and it's not going to end up being Teen. I know the show really wants us to think that, but like we already know.
And also in show, outside of the leak, in show, Rio said it was not her son.
Right, yeah.
So, at the end of this episode. But yeah, that's Agatha All Along, episode 4. We're going to be talking about episode 5 next week.
There's still the question of who put the glamour on Teen, though.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Agatha, and I just don't know. I don't know. It was somebody who clearly doesn't want people knowing his identity.
Do you think that we might see a certain actor in this series with a middle name Baron?
Baron. Oh, I'm confused.
There's an actor with the middle name Baron who,
without saying Cohen?
Yes. Who, was rumored to be playing a specific role in the MCU.
Oh God. No, I don't think that's gonna happen. No, definitely not.
But that's it for Agatha All Along, and now we're going to be talking about episode 3 of The Penguin, titled Bliss. And this episode gave us kind of more of a focus on Victor.
Yes.
We got to see kind of his family. We had like a flashback where we saw kind of the events. I love when movies do that, especially when they're tied into a bigger universe. I love whenever they reference the events of the blip, and like when they did it in WandaVision and when they did it in other kind of Marvel like shows and stuff, you know?
I really love this too, because like it really shows you firsthand how like the Riddler's plot from the Batman, how that really like affected normal people, you know?
Exactly. That's why I love it when they do that kind of stuff, because it's tied to this bigger movie, and the bigger movie did this sequence as this kind of big epic kind of, you know, ending sequence thing, but like we didn't really get the on the ground impact of it. We had kind of a more broader view.
When you see it in the movie, you see the broad view, but you mostly see it through Batman's perspective.
Yeah.
As he's out there trying to stop it. You don't get the perspective of the average Gotham citizen.
That's why I like that stuff. Like I mentioned, I like all the references to the blip in different Marvel shows and stuff, where they show like a flashback scene and you find out like, oh, this is what happened to this character during the blip.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that kind of stuff is really cool. Like I liked it in Hawkeye where they showed like Yelena with the blip, and I liked it in WandaVision when they showed with the blip, you know. All that kind of stuff is really cool.
Also, I like the way they play it, because you're watching it and it's like, oh, you know, did he go home? It's just like, I wasn't thinking about like, oh yeah, like his family's gone. I was just like watching it, and then like it gets that part and you're like, oh crap, no, this is the past.
Well, that's a cool advantage of that kind of storytelling. And it's like one more example I was going to bring up is like the Watchmen TV series did that too, with that character with the mirrored face or something, and you find out his backstory and how it's tied to the events at the end of Watchmen, the comic, not even the movie, but the comic, you know, and the way that ended and the big event that occurred there and stuff. Like I like that when you can tie into like a bigger event but show more of a ground level, like how it affects people. I love that kind of stuff. So it was really cool to see. Like I pegged it like immediately when the scene was starting. I'm like, this is a flashback. And then they're on the roof and stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is totally a flashback. They're gonna show like the floods and they're at a safe spot up above, but the people they know are not.
Right, yeah.
And so I love the way they pulled that off and worked with that. I thought that was really cool. It was fun to kind of get more of a focus on Victor's character and get more of his kind of motivations and dive into like, you know, he has that speech impediment when he gets nervous. And so you're getting these kind of like things, gives you a better idea of understanding kind of why Oz is like interested in him.
Yeah.
Because Oz is similar. Oz like, you know, has like a physical disability, you know? So like he sees himself in Victor, you know, and we kind of knew that already. We talked about him having this kind of like big brother, father-like relationship with him, but you kind of see like where that comes from now more because they put more of a focus on Victor's like speech impediment in this episode.
And there's like a lot more focus this episode on his relationship with Oz, you know, and it's this really interesting, complicated relationship, like.
Yeah. What also shows, like, why he fucked up in the last episode.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, suffering from some serious fucking trauma.
Yes, he is.
And it's enacted, and when it was, he kind of went in there, and we had another scene where you actually see that more explicitly, like, how he's affected by his trauma. And then that gives you an idea, like, oh yeah, when he fumbled with the jewels in the last episode, he must have been in his head somewhere with this, like, this is probably what happened.
Oh, yeah. And it's funny because, like, the relationship is so complex because, yeah, like, Oz sees himself in this kid, he keeps him around. Oz says he keeps him around because he's useful, but, like, is he really, like, that useful, like, he fucks up, like, is he keeping him around because he genuinely needs him, or, like, it's interesting in that way to think about it,
Well, they're really hammering the parallels. Like, they had, Oz is teaming up with Sophia, and Sophia talks to Victor and says, like, do you know Oz used to be my driver? Oh, okay, yeah. So they're really hammering on that parallel between their characters.
Also, like, the character moments with Oswald in, like, this episode, just showing, like, one of the best scenes I love is when he's talking to Sophia, and she says something like, I don't think I can come around to trusting you, because, like, they're talking about what Oz did, how he betrayed her, got her sent to Arkham in the first place, how he read on her, and she talks to him about trust, I don't see how I could get around to trusting you, and, like, Oz says something like, I'm gonna work hard at, like, getting you to trust me, like, I'm gonna put in the work, and 5 minutes later, the Maronis show up, Victor plows into them, and Oz is just like, let the bitch die.
Yeah, Victor's like, what about Sophia? I'll leave her.
Leave her, yeah. Like, right after that, heartfelt speech.
Yeah. It just shows kind of like how manipulative and full of shit he is,
Yeah, exactly. It's a great moment.
Yeah, we also got to meet Victor's kind of love interest character. So you kind of see some of his motivations there, and his conflict is kind of like solidified through her, and her wanting to get them both out of there, and him wanting to stay because he's kind of building this relationship with Penguin, and feeling important, and all these things going with that.
He's building himself the life he's always thought he deserved, right?
Yeah.
He always wanted to be like a wealthy, well-off big shot, We see that in the opening scene in the past where he's talking to his father, he's like, asking him, like,
the whole point about the father saying, we have enough.
Yeah, we have enough. And he's asking him, like, you could be making more money at your repair shop if you just, like, did these things, and, he dismisses it. It's clear that, like, he wasn't satisfied then, and so now, like, through his association with Oz, he's starting to get a taste of what he's always wanted, or what he's always thought he wanted. And it's clear that when he takes off and he drives down to the bus station, and he's looking at, like, his girlfriend who's about to leave, it's clear he makes that choice right then and there that he wants that life more than he wants to be with her.
Yeah. The last kind of interesting thing I wanted to bring up for this episode is that they expanded kind of the scope a bit again. So we had the Falcones and the Maronis, and now we have the Triad.
Yeah.
It's like this other card in play, led by Feng Zhao, as played by
from Lost.
Francois Chow from Lost.
Yeah, which is funny because it's funny because, like, I watched that and then I watched the trailers and I got to, like, the one about the Lost documentary and I'm like, yeah, I just saw that guy in the Penguin.
Yeah. But you have the Triad now. It's like this other element. So you have this other element of organized crime that's, like, in play. And I really like how this show is balancing things. Like, it's slowly expanding the scope, but being very careful to, like, focus in on the characters and stay focused on the characters as it's expanding the scope. So it's not just, like, throwing so much stuff at you at once. It's kind of like giving you little bits, kind of slowly expanding things out, giving you kind of a bigger idea of the picture, but still kind of keeping you focused on certain spots in that painting. I think it's doing a pretty good job at that so far.
Oh yeah, this is excellent. This is the best episode of the Penguin for me. Like, this elevated it.
It's like either this or the first episode. The first episode was really good too. It was a really strong first episode.
I've heard from people who've seen it. Episode 4 is absolutely insane, and for one person said, like, it takes the series to the next level.
It's exciting to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very happy with this show. I mean, for me, like, Matt Reeves is just like, I haven't seen anything from him that wasn't excellent so far.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the, like, post-episode things that they have? Because kind of like House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones. They have
I
those
didn't.
so they did one. It was kind of interesting where it was after the episode with the heist that went wrong in the truck, where Oz had to like turn the table like twice or whatever on last week's episode, and they were showing like how they were using these special prop guns that create like a flash, like a muzzle flash, but they're not actual guns. And they were talking about like the safety concerns and stuff. I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's cool.
Especially now with everything that's been going on with like the rush shooting and stuff. It's kind of interesting to see like a perspective on how they're like using that as a focus for making the action feel right in the moment and also not using real guns. So I thought that was kind of cool. So stay tuned for those when you watch the episode. Stay tuned after the credits. They got these little kind of scenes like that kind of cover, not scenes, but little like, behind the scenes.
Big vignettes, yeah. Little behind the scenes vignettes.
But yeah, that is it for this week's episode of the podcast. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Next week, more Agatha All Along, more The Penguin, maybe Nintendo Switch successor. I don't know.
Anything could happen with Nintendo.
Yeah, I guess we'll be saying that every week until it's revealed at the Game Awards. We'll be saying it every week.
Alarmo 2.
Yeah, the Alarmo successor will be announced next week.
Exactly.
But until then, stay tuned. Thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at FoxAHero. You can check out our website, thetotalscreen.com. You can check out our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, all of that by going to our website, opening up a container store for any of our podcast episodes, scrolling down to the last paragraph, and all of the links are in there. You can find that all there. You can also subscribe to this podcast through your favorite podcast client of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts, and the entire backlog of this podcast, as well as additional content, is available on our YouTube channel. So check that out as well. Thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.